Good morning, page turners. I'm excited to announce the release of my latest paranormal mystery, Spellbound Statues. This book is number 23 in the Reg Rawlins Psychic Investigator series. Get ready for a spellbinding new paranormal mystery. Psychic investigator Reg Rawlins is back, and this time she's facing a truly petrifying mystery. The story unfolds in the quirky town of Black Sands, where ancient elemental spirits are stirring, seeking vengeance for past transgressions. These are not your garden variety ghosts. They are powerful entities tied to the very fabric of the world. When a warlock is inexplicably turned to stone in the secret Temple Orange Grove, Reg must unravel the secrets behind this bizarre event and confront a terrifying curse unleashed by ancient elemental spirits seeking vengeance. The clock is ticking and the stakes are higher than ever. Reg's investigation will take her on a thrilling adventure as she delves into ancient magic, hidden artifacts, and the strange happenings in Black Sands. Can she discover who or what is behind the petrification before more people share the same stony fate? If you love paranormal mystery books with a strong psychic lead and a thrilling plot, then Spellbound Statues is a page turner you won't want to put down. Prepare to be captivated by the spellbinding events and the intriguing world of Black Sands. Q-Tip wanted to come on camera to tell you how much she thinks you'll like Spellbound Statues as well, and that you should go out and buy it right now. Right, Q-Tip? For those who have been following Reg's journey, you know she can handle anything from ghostly encounters to magical mishaps. But this petrification is unlike anything she's faced before. And for new readers, this paranormal adventure is a fantastic place to jump in and meet Reg Rawlins. Sandy said, "Wow, loved it. I'd been missing Reg, and you really delivered." And Candy says, "Reg, Sarah, and Devin have their work cut out for them this time, as unexpected things start happening. What an exciting adventure this book is. I love the magical characters, and of course, Ember the dragon. Looking forward to their next adventure." A reading from Spellbound Statues, the 23rd book in the Reg Rawlins Psychic Investigator series by P.D. Workman, the author. Gideon Darkwood crept through the trees, taking the well-worn pathway to the temple in the orange grove. The moonlight filtered through the dense canopy of orange trees, casting eerie shadows that danced around him as he moved stealthily along the path. The citrusy aroma of oranges lingered in the air, but Gideon's thoughts were far removed from their sweetness. Though Gideon had traversed this way many times before, it was not he who had worn the path through the grass and dirt that had been formed by the feet of the warlock coven that met there regularly. It was hard to believe that Corbin now led the coven. Back when they'd been young warlocks together, it was unimaginable that a power drinker would ever be allowed to hold such a position in the coven. Back then, Corbin had been barred from even being a member of an established coven. How things had changed since then. Corbin's leadership of the coven had not been as successful as he'd hoped. He'd promised the coven members that he would share some of his accumulated powers and gifts with them if elected, and to his credit, he had followed through and tried to do that. But things had gone awry. What Corbin had done to merit the attack by the werewolves, Gideon didn't know, and he probably didn't want to know. He'd seen enough of Corbin's nature in the past. They'd worked together to maintain the spell of the Temple Orange Grove for decades, centuries now. He'd seen many of Corbin's highs and lows. The warlock might have had good intentions, but his inborn nature, which he could not change no matter what he willed, always twisted those good intentions into something else. Since the attack, Corbin had cloistered himself within the walls of his home and would take no visitors. Gideon's attempts to communicate with him had been rebuffed. Corbin said he needed some recovery time and would get back to Gideon when he was feeling better. Many rumors were flying around about the injuries Corbin had received, but Gideon assumed most of the rumors were false. He wouldn't believe any story unless it came from Corbin's own lips, and probably not even then. He might approach a few of the members of the coven who'd been there during the attack to get the whole story. He wasn't sure whether any of them would talk to him, and there might be little they could tell him about the attack. Something like that, an ambush during the spring equinox ritual, must have shocked them, completely unexpected as far as he knew. Equinox was supposed to be a time of peace and balance. Most practitioners carefully avoided any offense or conflict that day. Gideon followed the stones in the ground that had once been the foundations of the temple. It had stood there proudly many years before, but over time had fallen into disrepair, and relic hunters had removed many of the stones that had built the wall. But Gideon was not looking for the stones of the walls. There was another stone he sought. Few knew of its existence, but its safety and integrity were vital for the welfare of the people of Black Sands. During the years before the stone had been laid there, life in Black Sands had been chaotic and dangerous. It had not been the sleepy little town it was now, sitting back quietly in contemplation, a place where magical practitioners had free commerce with one another, one of the safest places for psychics and witches to openly practice their craft. It had flourished for many years as the social center for all practitioners for hundreds of miles around. Yet they were all ignorant of why Black Sands had become the magical Mecca it was. That secret was shared by a select few, Gideon among them. He found the altar stone the warlocks had placed at the central point of the temple. The herbs placed upon it were withered and dry, looking almost as if they'd been burned in the sunlight. A faintly familiar smell rose to his nostrils, pungent and earthy. He heard a noise and, startled, whirled around to look behind him. He pulled his cloak close to him in an effort to blend into the darkness. A cloak of invisibility it was not, but the hood shadowed his face and kept it in darkness, and the capacious sleeves covered his white, wrinkled hands. Had someone followed him here? He'd not seen anyone else on the road. He'd watched carefully to make sure no one could follow him, but he was not immune to mistakes. The leaves of the orange trees rustled in the wind, and the fruit's smell once again covered the subtle scent from the altar a moment earlier. After standing frozen for several long minutes and seeing no movement around him, Gideon decided he'd imagined it. He was being paranoid. Corbin had been injured in a werewolf attack, but that had clearly been planned for when the coven was meeting and was at their most vulnerable. No one knew that Gideon was coming here tonight. The wolves would be far away. They'd reportedly left Black Sands, perhaps even Florida. They were not eager to face retribution for what they had done. Cowardly dogs they were. They hoped that if they just disappeared for a while, people would forget what they had done, and they would not have to pay for it. Gideon leaned closer to the altar, trying to pick up the scent he had detected a moment earlier. What was it? As old as he was, his sniffer wasn't quite as sensitive or reliable as it had once been. He inhaled deeply, thinking he would only smell the sage and other herbs placed on the altar. But once again he detected the pungent smell of another herb, mandrake. What would they have been using mandrake for in their equinox ritual? Had Corbin incorporated it into an empowerment ritual? He had promised to share some of his powers with the coven. Or had it been brought by the wolves? What spell could they have performed? What had they hoped to achieve with the attack on the coven, and Corbin in particular? Gideon bent down and brushed the dried herbs from the flat stone of the altar to examine the symbols carved into it. They were rough under his fingertips. His heart thudded hard in his chest. The altar stone was broken in half. He straightened and looked around, the rustling of the leaves again raising goosebumps on his skin. Who was there? Who had followed him? Or had someone already been there, waiting for him? Had someone or something known that he would be coming here? It was not his first foray. He'd come to the Temple Grove regularly over the years, but had not followed a predictable schedule. He did not want people to know when to expect him there. He came and went quietly without telling anyone of his visits. He would inform Corbin after he was gone, confirming that everything still appeared to be in order, and they did not have anything to worry about. No one could have known he was coming. "Who is there?" he demanded, his voice cracking and sounding way too tentative for a warlock of his stature. "Show yourself." No one spoke or moved. Was it all just in his imagination? Paranoia because of the attack and the broken altar? Just the rustling of the wind and night animals? Appare et ostende te, he again commanded the intruder to show himself. But there was still no response, and Gideon did not want to use any magic against whoever was there with him. It was, of course, against his covenants to use magic to harm a creature who had done nothing to him. He had no idea what kind of entity might be there with him. It could be a natural ally, or someone who had no intention of interfering with what he had to do there, not to mention the possibility of triggering an attack on himself by a more powerful practitioner. As strong as his powers had once been, they were starting to wane. He'd used much of his strength over the years in this task, even though the brunt of it was supposed to be borne by Corvin. And last but not least, he was on sacred ground. The walls of the ancient temple might be long since gone, but its magic was still there. The temple existed there still, even if it had no physical form. Even without the rocks and foundation that remained, for him to initiate an attack on these grounds might have serious consequences, just as the wolves now faced the possibility of war with the Warlock Coven, as well as the Witches' Coven and several other organizations who had been offended by the attack on the Warlocks and sworn retribution. Gideon did not want to find himself in the same circumstances. He stood there for a long time, his heart pounding hard in his ears, before he finally decided that the noises he was hearing were just the usual night sounds, like Gideon had heard every time he'd come here before. The broken altar had spooked him, that was all. He held his hands above the altar, beginning his incantation. The gem and the large ring on his finger began to heat and glow. He could feel the power of the words he spoke. He reached out through the soil beneath his feet to what he knew lay buried there. A rumble sounded in the distance. At first Gideon thought it was thunder, then realized the sky was clear and it came not from above but from the ground. And it was growing. He could smell sulfur and felt a heaviness in the air. He'd never experienced this reaction before. He raised his voice louder, growling out the words. His old hands shook, his breath came in shortened gasps. The rumble grew to a crescendo, and the glow of the gem on his ring was extinguished. Ready to dive into this spellbinding tale, filled with magic, mystery, and supernatural adventure? You can find Spellbound Statues in ebook, paperback, hardcover, large print, and even auto-narrated audiobook. Visit your favorite online bookseller or go straight to shop.pdworkman.com to get your copy today. Spellbound Statues is a great standalone adventure, ideal for anyone who's new and wants to jump into a fun story. The characters and settings are so well done that even if you haven't read the earlier books, you'll find yourself hooked in no time. And for those of you who are already fans, dive back into the town of Black Sands and re-engage with Reg and her friends. If you're just starting out or catching up in the series, I have some fantastic deals on other books in the series. What the Cat Knew. Start your journey with What the Cat Knew, Book 1 in the series. Perfect for newcomers eager to dive into Reg's world. Reg Rawlins, self-confessed conman, arrives in the enchanting town of Black Sands and finds that it is not at all the place she expected, and neither is she. Buy it direct from me for 99 cents for a limited time at shop.pdworkman.com. Grab a bundle deal on books 19 through 21 to catch up before you jump into Spellbound Statues. Save by purchasing these 3 books, available at all popular retailers or my e-store. Kidnappings, Cats, Cursed Chocolate Truffles, and Shifters await. Or go all out with the best deal. Snag books 1 through 21 in one incredible bundle at my e-store and save about 50% off of the retail cost. If you love small town mysteries featuring psychic detectives, magical creatures, and yes, a cat and a dragon, you won't want to miss this page turner. Join Reg and her friends, along with some new faces, as they race against time to recover powerful relics and face formidable foes. If you enjoy Reg's latest paranormal adventure, please consider leaving a review at your favorite bookstore or review site. Your feedback helps other readers describe spellbinding books like Spellbound Statues. And don't forget to share it with your friends. Thank you so much for watching. Happy reading, and I hope you enjoy this spellbinding mystery. There will be another tale coming out next month, Fur and Fury, book 24 in the Reg Rawlins series. Join my mailing list and ensure that you are notified.